Thank you for watching Project Home's class on spring home maintenance in conjunction with the Housing Center with MG&E. Most of us have a lot of time on our hands these days to take care of projects around the house. So we're going to give you some tips on things to check out on this important annual maintenance task for your home. We're really going to start on the inside of the home and then work to the outside. So the first thing we'd like everyone to do is to go around and check the batteries on your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Changing the batteries in your smoke detector and carbon monoxide alarms should be done twice a year when you change the clocks in the spring and the fall. It's just a good rule of thumb, something easy to put on your calendar that you can go ahead and do twice a year. In addition to those important alarms, if you happen to have fire extinguishers, now would be a great time to check those, make sure they're still maintaining a charge, that everyone knows where they are in the home, and that everybody knows how to use them. Moving on up to the top of the house, ceiling fans. If you happen to have ceiling fans and you use the control to reverse them, reverse the airflow in the spring or in the fall, we recommend reversing the flow to make sure that you're pushing warm air down in the winter and pulling the cool air up during the summertime. In addition, to make that airflow better on the ceiling fans, we're going to ask that you take a duster and clean the dust off the ceiling fan blades. It's going to help move a higher volume of air in the home. Clean out your refrigerator and freezer. Now is a good time to get the vacuum out, clean the refrigerant coils off of the refrigerator and the freezer. Those coils need to be free from dust and debris. The more air that can circulate around that coil, the better the refrigerator and freezer is going to be able to dissipate heat, and it's going to be more energy efficient. Now is a great time to check out your air conditioning unit. You've been using your furnace all winter for heating your home, but now is a good time, if we happen to get a warm day, to fire up the air conditioner, make sure it's holding a refrigerant charge, make sure that you've got good airflow to all your rooms, and that everything works properly on that. A little further down the line, we're going to go over some slides on what to do on the outside unit for your air conditioner, but on the inside unit that sits above your furnace, you'll likely see some drain lines coming off of your ductwork. There is a drain pan in there inside your ductwork to handle the condensate that's produced on the evaporator coil for the air conditioner. You're going to want to take a look at those drain lines and make sure they're not obstructed with any sort of debris. This is really important if you have pets, because pet hair can get pulled through the system and can clog the coil, the coolant coil in your ductwork, and it can also clog the drain lines, which can lead to water overflowing the pan and causing an issue with damage to your furnace. If you happen to be using a humidifier to introduce moisture to your home because it gets dry in the winter, now would be a great time to check that unit out, which is again usually attached to the ductwork on your furnace. And there's oftentimes a duct that runs between the supply duct and the return duct with a little lever on it that says summer and winter. You're going to want to move that from the winter setting to the summer setting at this point in time, just to make sure you're introducing humidity on the correct side of the airflow system. The other thing is to check your dehumidifier, because we're going to be coming into that time where basements are going to start getting more humid, and you're going to want to run your dehumidifier to manage moisture and to keep the musty smell down in your basement. So make sure you know where that is, make sure that it's plugged in, make sure that if you have a drain line for it, that it's going to an appropriate floor drain. Those are the sorts of things we want you to take a look at there to help manage moisture in your home. Another thing to check out down in the basement would be your sump pump. This is really critical this time of year. The number one cause of building failures across the nation is moisture problems, and that can be from flooding, that can be from mold, that could be from rainwater getting in somewhere and causing damage. This time of year, with all the rain in the spring and the snow melt that we get, sometimes the ground is still a little frozen, so a lot of moisture tends to sink into the ground around your foundation. So if you do have a drain tile and sump pump system, this would be a great time to pour a bucket of water down the sump pump, make sure the pump actually turns on. If you happen to have a backup battery for the system, make sure that's fully charged and operating properly. Double check the discharge pipe on your sump pump. Make sure that has not become disconnected. We want that pipe terminating several feet away from the foundation, because if you're just dumping the water right next to the foundation, it creates a never-ending cycle of water sinking in, the pump pumping it out, water sinks right back in, as opposed to getting that moisture further away from the foundation to actually get rid of it. The other major appliance in our house that you're going to want to look at is our water heater. That's generally located near the furnace in the basement. You do want to check that appliance out and make sure that there's no evidence of any water leaks that have popped up on any of the pipe joints. You want to make sure there's no water on the floor around it. Oftentimes water heaters have a temperature and pressure relief valve, which is a little valve sticking off the side of the tank with a pipe that terminates down near the floor. You're going to want to look at the bottom of the pipe and make sure there's not water dripping out of that. That could be an indication that there is a problem with your water heater and that there could be some imminent tank failure. The other thing you can do is take a thermometer and check the water temperature coming out of your tap. A good rule of thumb for efficiency and safety reasons is we want that temperature in that 120 to 125 degree Fahrenheit range. So if you're any higher than that, you can usually in small increments turn down the thermostat on the water heater. That's going to save you some energy and thus money on your bills, and it's also going to still provide you with the warm enough water that's comfortable for everybody in the household. If you happen to have hard water, now would be a great time to check out your water softening system. If you do have a water softening system, you're going to want to make sure that that's operating properly and discharging and recharging properly as well. So this would be a great time to check out your water softening system. If you don't have a water softening system, you may find that you start to accumulate lime and sediment in your water heater tank. So if you have regularly drained your tank in years past, go ahead and follow your manufacturer's instructions to drain the sediment off of your water heater tank. If you've never done that before, now would not be a good time to start. Generally, if there is lime buildup and you open that drain valve, you may not be able to close it fully if you've never opened it before. So that can lead to some bigger problems than it's worth. So if you've been draining it regularly, now's a great reminder to do that this time of year. If not, don't worry about it, move on down the road. Doors and windows, you're going to want to double check, go around, look at all your door and window openings in the household, make sure the weather stripping is still intact. If you happen to have screens on your windows, check all the screen material to make sure there's no rips or tears. This would be a great time to replace or repair your screens. Replacing an entire screen is not that hard. They also sell like self-adhesive screen repair material for repairing small holes or rips in the screen material. The other thing you're going to want to do is if you happen to put up plastic or other types of temporary seals around your doors and windows, now would be a great time of year to start taking that stuff off and make sure that you have free flow of air and operation of all your windows and doors for the warmer months. Some other things you're going to want to look at in your home, bathroom exhaust fans. Just double check, take a look at the exhaust grill on the ceiling of your bathroom, take a vacuum to that, get all the dust and debris off of that vacuum. It operates in a pretty moist environment, so it can accumulate quite a bit of dust over time. So get that nice and clean. Again, that allows for the free flow of air through that exhaust system and helps eliminate excess moisture in your home. Pull the grill down, take a look inside the unit, unplug the fan or turn off the fan switch so it's safe to do so. But if you have a brush attachment for your vacuum, get inside that bathroom exhaust fan and clean off all the fan blades as well. Because again, that's going to allow for the maximum amount of airflow through that exhaust fan. Your dryer venting, double check that your dryer venting is still connected. You definitely don't want to be introducing any additional moisture into your home as we come into the more humid months. So make sure the dryer vent is connected and terminates outside your home. This is especially important if you have a gas-fired dryer, because there can be issues with carbon monoxide production when you're using a gas dryer, and you definitely want to make sure that exhaust is getting eliminated outside of your house and terminates to the exterior. Your washing machine hoses. Again, if you're right there checking the dryer, check out your wash machine. Look at the supply lines, the water supply hoses for your wash machine and also the drain line. Double check to make sure the supply hoses aren't bulged or cracked or leaking at the fittings, and make sure that the drain discharge hose is securely adhered to your drain system so that's not spraying water all over the basement or causing another moisture problem.
Question about dryer venting.
Sure.
Someone says, I have one of those bendable, flexible dryer vents in my basement going to the outside, is that okay?
It's probably okay, but in general, it's not the best. So what we would always recommend with regard to dryer venting or any fan venting for that matter is the smoothest, straightest, shortest run of vent material possible. So if you're able to put smooth pipe or rigid pipe as opposed to the flexible vent pipe, we definitely would recommend doing that. The corrugated vent pipes provide for a lot of resistance to airflow and turbulence in the vent system, and over time that can accumulate lint on a dryer especially, and then that can in turn lead to obstructions in your vent, reduced airflow, increased drying times, and then with lint in the dryer vent pipe that can also be a potential fire hazard.
One other question about dryer venting. Someone says, I've seen the white flexible piping, but then I've also seen silver. Is there any difference between those? Does it matter which one I use?
There's not much of a difference between the white or the silver flexible vent pipe. Again, smooth pipe is better than the corrugated pipe, just to allow for freer flow of air and for all the benefits we just mentioned.
You also brought up washing machine hoses. Someone asks, I've heard I should change these every 5 years. Is that recommended, or should I just wait until it leaks?
Right. Well, if you wait till it leaks, that's usually not a good idea, because then you're dealing with a much bigger moisture problem and potential damage in your home. There are a couple of things I would recommend with regard to water supply lines. Most of the older lines are just black rubber hoses with kind of hose fittings on the end. A lot of the newer hoses, you can get braided metal hoses, which are much more durable and less prone to leakage or breakage. Another thing that you can get is a fitting to put sort of in line with your supply lines. You can it attaches to the clothes washer, and your supply hose attaches into it. And it's basically an automatic shutoff valve where if you should happen to have a catastrophic failure of your supply line, that valve will sense the increased flow and will shut off the water line automatically. So if you're not at home and this happened when you're not at home or in the middle of the night, you wouldn't have to worry so much about a really major flood. Moving outside the house, we took care of some of the inside stuff. Moving outside the house, the biggest thing in the springtime would be to look your roof over really closely. During the wintertime, a lot of snow and ice can build up. You could have had an early snow in the fall like we did this past year, where maybe we didn't get around to getting all the leaves cleaned out of the gutters. We had extra icicles forming or ice dams potentially. So you're really going to want to take a look at your roof condition, check for any sort of deteriorated or damaged shingles. Are there any cracked or broken shingles? Did we get a real cold snap with a lot of wind where some of the shingles could have been broken and ripped off? So take a look. If you have a pair of binoculars, it's good to stand out at the street and take a look with a close eye over your entire roof just to look for damage. Do a quick survey that way. If you happen to have trees or any sort of low-hanging branches that are near the roof, you're going to want to make sure those are trimmed well away from the roof. And again, you don't want those rubbing against the roof, abrading the shingles and causing a potential roof leak. Other damage that could occur during the wintertime would be to your gutter system. If you do have a lot of ice and snow buildup, that can be an enormous amount of weight hanging in the gutters, and that can actually pull the gutters away from the house, where you would no longer then have proper moisture management, where if we did get a rainstorm, that would just be coming right down the face of your home instead of getting discharged through the drainage system.
We have a gutters question about that.
Okay.
Someone's asking if I have had damage to my gutters, that it's pulled away or bent and pulling away from the house, what's the easiest way to reattach that gutter?
Depends what kind of fastening system your gutter has, but in general, a lot of the older style gutters are just through nailed with some large nails. So getting up on a ladder, if you're comfortable getting on a ladder, and just pounding those nails back into place to pull the gutter up tight to the drip edge would be one way to do that. Some of the newer gutter securing systems have straps or special brackets with screws, making sure that all those screws and brackets are tight. Again, keeping that gutter tight under the drip edge is really key. Do another quick survey of the gutter system, make sure there's no leaf litter or branches or other debris that would cause obstructions in your downspouts or extensions as well. Speaking of the gutter extensions, make sure that those are also terminating well away from the foundation, just like we talked about with the sump pump. You do want to make sure that the ground slopes away from your foundation because again, you don't want that moisture just rolling back in and coming into contact with your foundation, which could then get into your basement. So make sure you have good extensions on your downspouts so they're terminating many feet away from the foundation. If you do have rain barrels, I will mention, make sure that the rain barrel fill system is working properly. There's usually some sort of an overflow device on them where once the barrel is full, it diverts all the rest of the water through the normal downspout again. Make sure that's working properly. If we happen to get a rainstorm, and you can go out and take a look at that just to make sure the barrel's not overflowing right next to your foundation, that would be important as well. Again, just some general spring maintenance. Generally, just to keep rodents and things like that from taking up residence right around the foundation of your home, which could potentially then allow them access into your home. Trim any shrubs or bushes away from your foundation so there's a little bit of clear space back there. Rake any leaf litter away from the foundation and get that all moved away from the foundation. Again, just so we're not inviting any sort of rodents, squirrels, rabbits, mice, rats, what have you, from taking up residence right next to the foundation. You also want to make sure none of your shrubs or trees have branches that are going to be coming into contact with your siding, which could also cause damage and then a potential moisture problem should we get a rainstorm if there was compromised siding. Be a great time of year to pressure wash the outside of your house if you have access to a pressure washer or a hose and a scrub brush to clean the siding off. It gives you an opportunity to really inspect over the whole shell of your home. Check for any, if you have wood trim details or wood siding. It also gives the opportunity to check for any rotted or cracked or damaged wood. It's a great time to reseal, restain any wood that you have on the outside of your house as well. Now, getting back to the air conditioner outside, we talked a little bit about some of the maintenance you should do on the inside unit on your air conditioner. This is the outdoor compressor unit. You definitely want to make sure there's no debris or shrubs growing close to that unit to allow for free flow of air. Your air conditioner is just a heat transfer device, so that moves heat to the outside from inside your home. And this outdoor unit has a big fan in it, which allows that heat to dissipate to the outside. So if there are branches or bushes that are obstructing the airflow, your air conditioners are going to have to work harder. It's not going to be as energy efficient, and it can lead to some premature failure and wear and tear on the motors and compressors inside the air conditioning unit. The other good thing to do if you happen to have that hose out or pressure washer would be to blow off the or hose off the fins, the cooling fins around the outside of the unit. That can accumulate a lot of debris, leaf litter, dust, cottonwoods. If you haven't done that in a few years, probably a good idea to get out there and spray that off. Sometimes it works better to take the hose and spray it from the inside out. That just allows some of that debris not to get forced further into the cooling fins and comes off a little bit easier that way. I generally don't recommend using any sort of a brush attachment or anything like that because we don't want to bend or damage the cooling fins. So just a stream of water would be best there.
Adam, we have an air conditioner question that was submitted. Someone asks, I didn't cover my air conditioner over the winter. I don't do that. Do I need to do that? I see some people put covers on them. Sure,
that's a great question, and a lot of people do ask that question. There's two schools of thought to that. If you happen to have the air conditioner sitting under eaves where there's a lot of ice and snow that slides off the roof, you may want to lay a piece of plywood over the top of it so it doesn't get damaged from falling ice or snow. You do, however, not necessarily need to cover it completely. When you cover it completely, it provides a nice sheltered area for rodents to take up residence in there, and they tend to chew up wiring inside your air conditioning unit. And then this time of year when things start to melt, if it's covered completely, moisture can get retained inside of the unit, and that can lead to some deterioration of the outdoor unit. So just putting a piece of plywood over the top is what we generally recommend. That allows good airflow through the unit to keep it nice and dry and doesn't really foster a good home for rodents taking up residence. since you're outside, it's a great time to go around the entire perimeter of your foundation and make sure that you have a good positive grade that slopes away from your house. If you did happen to have some sort of damage to your water control or gutter system, you may see some depressions in the soil around your foundation that would indicate water dripping from a height next to your foundation. It'd be a good idea just to fill in those low spots, correct any drainage issues that you have with your gutter or downspout system, and also to stop any water intrusion from ground runoff. Keep that well away from your foundation. There's a lot of different ways to do that. I should mention, I mean, you could bring in just dirt, and if you have enough room underneath your siding to build the dirt up and slope that away, that would be one way to do that. There's a lot of good classes out there, online resources on water management and flood prevention as well. And I know Project Home also has a class on that, which we'll be posting at some point in the future. Touch up any peeling paint. Again, this goes back to just preserving your home, making sure that you're doing that annual maintenance, making sure that you extend the longevity of all your building materials, make sure that any cracked siding is repaired or replaced, caulk the cracks, make sure that the peeling paint is repainted, scrape off anything that's peeling. And then again, that really important thing, if your home was built prior to 1978, there is a chance that any of the exterior painted or varnished stained finishes could contain lead. So if you have not had a lead test done, your home is older than 1978, definitely wear a respirator or mask if you're going to be abrading any sort of painted surfaces to protect you and the other occupants of the home from a lead exposure. There are also some very economical self-test kits that you can get at most hardware stores. 3M makes one. There's a couple other brands out on the market as well. It's basically a little swab that you can break open and then swab it on your painted surface, and it will tell you if that paint contains lead. So that's a good homeowner check that you can just do to see if you're dealing with any sort of hazardous substance on your home. Most homes have double pane or even triple pane windows now, but if you happen to have single pane windows, or if you have storm windows that are single pane, now would be a great time to go out, and if you have cracked or broken glass panes, get those replaced, repaint and reseal the frames and sashes. And then if you are currently using storm windows, remove the windows and put your screens up at this point in time so you can get ready for the warmer weather that's coming. Driveways, sidewalks, definitely stay ahead of any sort of trip hazard. So if you do start to see some cracks forming in your driveway or your sidewalk, now would be a great time to get those filled. There's patching compounds and materials that you can use to repair driveways and sidewalks that are both concrete and asphalt friendly. So make sure you stay ahead of that so you don't get any frost heaves and then create some sort of a tripping hazard at where that material is cracked. Your decks and patios. So definitely take time and check out if you have wooden decks, especially, or composite wood even. Make sure that none of the boards have popped up or none of the fasteners have gotten loose. Give the railings a good shake. Make sure that everything is still intact and safe. If you happen to have deteriorated wood on your deck surface, take some time, go through, pressure wash it, sand it down, reseal it, get everything touched up now, and then that way that's going to allow you to enjoy that deck and patio throughout the summer months and extend its life well into the future. Most people have shutoff valves for their outside hose faucets. Now would be a great time, if you did turn those off, to go back and turn those on. Usually if you kind of draw a little map around the perimeter of your house and find where those hose faucets are, when you go into your basement, kind of look for a water line going through the perimeter of your house. There's usually either a gate valve, which you can turn, or a ball valve, which has a lever that you turn 90 degrees to reopen or close those valves. So make sure they're open for the summer months so you have access to all your hoses and water spigots outside.
Since we're talking about water spigots, we did have a question, Adam, about someone's outdoor water spigot. They say, I have a water softener. How can I tell if my outdoor water spigots are softened, because I don't want to be putting salt water outside like that?
Yeah, great question. Well, if you happen to live in Madison, Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District actually has some test strips that you can use. Basically, you could fill a cup up with water from your outdoor faucet, dip the test strip in it, and that will tell you if your outdoor water is being softened or not. Obviously, you don't need to soften your outdoor water, so if you want to minimize your salt use and minimize overall salt load for the sewerage district, you can perhaps consult with a plumber and have them ensure that your outdoor lines are not softened. Another thing to do while you're outside, again, lawn maintenance is coming up right around the corner for a lot of us, so make sure that your lawnmower is tuned up, make sure the oil's changed, the blade's sharpened, and get all your outdoor power equipment ready to go. And then clean the grill, because everybody wants to barbecue during the summertime. Again, spring cleaning is kind of that tradition that a lot of us kind of dread, but it is nice to get out and especially this time of year, get out, observe your home, see what sort of condition it's in after the long winter, make sure everything's ready to go for the summertime, and this allows us to enjoy our homes and make sure we're in safe and healthy homes all year round. Have a great summer.
We did have one more question. Someone says, I had ice dams this winter. What kind of damage should I be looking for on my roof, or what should I be looking for on my roof if I know I had ice dams this winter?
Yeah, if you know that you had ice dams this winter, specifically the first few feet of the roof from the roof edge and up a few feet, look for any sort of shingles that are sort of peeled up or pushed up. Look for gutters that are deformed or sagging, pulled away from the home. Again, that ice weighs a lot, so it's going to put an enormous amount of pressure on those gutter system. So those are the sorts of things you're going to want to be checking out. Also, take a walk around the perimeter on the inside of your home and look for any sort of staining on the ceilings. That could be an indication of actual water getting in through the roof and into your attic. So look for staining around the perimeter of your home on the inside. Look for areas where water may have dripped through the top of a window sash. That might also be an indicator that you've got actual water coming in through that ice dam area. I guess those are the main areas that I'd be telling people to look for.
If someone has ice dams, this is my question. If someone has ice dam issue and they see some staining in the ceiling, should they be concerned about what that may have done to their attic insulation?
Definitely, and in fact, the reason for the ice dam is that there is probably a defect or lack of attic insulation or lack of air sealing in the home, which is leading to increased heat loss, which is causing the ice dam issue to begin with. So you probably would want to consult a building performance specialist or insulation company to come out and take a look and evaluate the attic space to look for any deteriorated or damaged insulation voids, areas that might need additional air sealing in the attic space to prevent this problem in the future. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to watch this video. Project Home has been providing services in the Madison area for almost 50 years now, and we have some great offerings through our housing center classes and home repair programs in the Madison area and southern Wisconsin. We encourage you to come visit our website at www.projecthomewi.org to find out more information about our programs and other information we have available for the Madison community.